Hi. Hello, everyone. It's another beautiful Friday evening, and thank God it's Friday, TGIF. I hope and pray that each and every one of you is finding the courage to and just hold on and continue to do your part as we wait out this wicked COVID-19. COVID, what is that? There's no one, even a 5-year-old knows what COVID is. So it's one of those times in life where you ask yourself, what is going on? How did I get here? But before you try to turn off, you need to hold on, because don't be dismissive of information. You'll be amazed, and you could also be surprised that the information you dismiss can be the very thing that you need to actually take your life in the next direction. As a matter of fact, that's the kind of conversation we're going to be having today, because numbers matter. And to be honest with you, everything on earth is about numbers. And if we don't understand our numbers in every aspect of our lives, whether how much we weigh, talk about that, the scale, how much our pocketbook, how much we have in our pocketbooks, in our bank accounts, your blood pressure, your sugar level, everything about life is numbers. And if you can really structure and get hold of the numbers and understand the power of numbers, I'm telling you, your life will be a lot better. I have a great show for you today. But before I even go into the show, I have a powerful sister that I'm going to be having a conversation with today as to the reason why every one of us must pay attention. And let's not dismiss and say, oh, that doesn't concern me. If there's nothing this COVID-19 has taught any of us, is that we are all each other's keeper. This thing is, Ms. Cosworth said, that COVID-19 loves everybody. I'm like, what? Loves everybody? But I get it. She's trying to say that this is one thing that proves to us that we are in this thing called life together. We cannot do life alone. Even when the conversation doesn't seem to pertain to you, for once, stop being apathetic, become empathetic, because when you empathize with other people's pain, then you can begin to see them in yourself. You can begin to look for ways and means that you can help them. Because really, if we can come together with the differences that we have, our differences should be the uniqueness that we bring to our relationship. And when we look at life in that regard, you can really see that we're really fighting for no reason, because we all in this life, this thing called life together. So it is all about economics, but the decisions that are made that controls or pertains to my well-being or to your well-being is in the conversation, is the essence of the conversation we're going to have here today. So we're going to do a little bit of a talk on what's going on today. Yeah, you say, oh, I already heard it, but not from this perspective, because sometimes it matters from whose perspective you're talking about. Before I do that, I want to tell you that, again, I am Ambassador Dr. Margaret, the one and only Oprah of Africa. I love to encourage people. I was born as the natural encourager. Where there is hopelessness, I bring hope. Where there is no love, I bring love. You will never find me in the corridors of wicked people. I run away from wicked people because they are the one that is ruling the world. I participate where people need help and we can grow and pull together. So you want to follow me, Margaret Speaks page on Instagram. You can send me an email. You can check me out. I mean, I've written a lot of books before this time came that prepared me and for others for such a time as this. Without telling so much more or giving away what we bring to the table today, I'd like to introduce you to a young woman. She's very young because compared to my age, a young woman who is going to be my particular guest for today. Look at her, isn't she beautiful? She is gorgeous. None other than a lady who has found the secret of America. Because if you understand the secret of a country where you are and understand that there is no way you can succeed in a place unless you understand the system. This young lady understands the system. She started on so many businesses. Elizabeth Gachu is her name. She runs the Renaissance Cultural and Education Center in DC. But she's so powerful that you need to hear what she's done. And perhaps by the time you finish listening to her, you're going to find your aha moment. Because if all you got today is an idea how you can start something, everybody must start something. If there's nothing else COVID-19 taught or teaches us, is that you don't leave your destiny in the hand of anybody. Nobody can pay you more than what you're worth, but don't be afraid. So without further ado, I want to introduce to others, but not to me because I know her. Liz, welcome to Margaret Speaks Show.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you. I'm happy to today.
Yeah, go ahead and speak to us. Introduce yourself. I know you're not one of those that
Oh,
ta 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 ta, but you are a powerful woman, right? We don't make it
my
happen.
name
Go
is
ahead.
okay. Let me go ahead. And my name is Elizabeth Hendo, Center for Culture and Education. So I can go ahead and just give a brief
Sure, go ahead.
presentation
You can tell us
on
a little
what
bit
we
about
do.
yourself.
So we are providing services to strengthen family education in DC, and with a variety of services. So we are providing early childhood education program, before and after school
Hmm.
program, parenting program.
Hmm.
So those are the programs we provide in DC, and we also campaign to invite African family to fill out census. Yeah,
I know
I
you're
think
trying to
that's
get there. So today, actually, the conversation is about the DC Mayor's Office on our census 2020 census and how Africans and the diaspora can participate because their lives matter, your life matter, and of course, Black lives matter. Can you talk to me in that context about the issue of Black Lives Matter in relation to the census coming up and what your office and the DC office, mayor's office, is doing to make sure that the diaspora or the Africans understand the power of census in relation to what's going on today and why we must not look away based on the impact of COVID on the minorities, Blacks in general, but particularly in Africans.
okay. Every 10 years, the U.S. Constitution require to take count on all the American population, and it's very important that our African community be counted, because it's sometimes also it's not part of our culture. So the first thing that
Yeah.
we, as a Renaissance Center, we have to start being sensibilized by our community about most of us in our country. We don't do a lot of things about census. So, and it can affect our life in DC or Maryland or in the US. So if the census is not, if we are not participating in the census, it's gonna be a very bring to different sector that we receive. So it's very important that African community fill out the census so that all of us can be counted. So that's the reason the mayor office on community affair, African affairs is emphasizing on using community-based organization to go through more detail with their own communities. So that's what we do. Also, we host meeting events and a lot of um, program just to talk to the community about census, about how it's very important, how it can change their life, it can shape their life.
Okay, so can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, can you hear
yes.
me? Okay, sure. Before you go into the merits of census, could you explain what census is? And like you said, for some of us that came from Africa, young and stuff like that, nobody even knows what that is. I'm sure they talk about it. So if you have that mentality, and perhaps we'll pass it on to our children who are the first gen Americans, and they may not understand the import of it, can you tell us briefly what is census and why should they care?
Okay, yeah. Census actually is based on the census that we receive funding to different sector. We received funding for the hospital. We received funding because I just wanted to
Mhm.
go through that, like there's a detail, right? So that they can get more about it. So the water that we use at home is based on the census that we use those water. The
Mhm.
hospital is based on the census. The school, education, firefighter is based on the census that the government or the federal government allocate can allocate funding to support all these programs. And sometimes when I hear about, or maybe hospital and bills and water, people will just explain to you that, oh, I pay my bills, but who they build the hospital. Where did they get money from to build those hospitals? They have workers.
Exactly.
So your insurance, even they give you insurance, it's not enough to cover every bills that they receive every year or every month or every day. So the fact that they count you is give opportunity to the government to put more funds to to serve the community. So sometimes we
Right.
don't get
Right.
it right. What is census, or why am I gonna fill it out? What
Right. Or
am I
why should you
benefiting
care?
from it? Yeah. So what is am
Right.
I gonna benefit from that if
What is in
I
there for
fill out
you? What is in
census?
there for you?
Yeah, so you have children, they go to school, they have program, they have after school, they have early childhood education, they have, you are not paying how much you guys pay for the school fee in America. So if the census
Yeah.
fund, right,
Mhm.
because of the census that you get fund for
So
funding for this
right.
school.
So pardon me, okay? Right, so I totally get it. But for the average person, when I mean average, not in a condescending way, but someone who may not understand the concept of why it's important, what I hear you say, and we're going to be taking a quick commercial break, that is going to be one of the ads from DC government persuading people why they need to, especially the folks from the diaspora. But what I hear you say is that by being counted, even if it doesn't benefit you personally in your pocket, but because you were counted, you're helping your community as a whole that could pertain to whether your road is tarred or the school that you're going to go to. So one way or the other, we are all affected, right? Just like the COVID-19, and they're talking about the statistics, and we'll take that up when we come back after the short commercial break. We can talk about why it is important to be counted, because during this time, if we gather the numbers, it's going to help to reshape the financial structure or the inequity of justice in America, because now we can use the data from the set of people need to be supported. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Okay.
Mrs. Aina Shasval. Family and community are very important to me. That's why today I want to talk to you about the 2020 census and why it's important to help ensure a complete and accurate count of everyone living in the United States, and particularly in our community. Responding to the census helps allocate funding for our schools and public resources such as parks, hospitals, and fire departments. It helps identify where childcare centers are built, where roads are built, where new businesses are open, or how many congressional seats our district gets. The data collected will further affect our nation's ability to ensure equal representation to important governmental and private sector resources for everyone. Responding to the 2020 census allows us to shape our community's future. It is easy to respond online, by phone, or by requesting a physical form of the census. Our responses are safe, confidential, and protected by federal law. So let's get together for the 2020 census, because our future and our children's future depend on it. I count.
So the commercial we just saw kind of summarizes exactly what we're talking about. You count. You know how we talk about Black Lives Matter? Your vote counts. This is a form of voting because the future of our children, our healthcare future, every single thing that gives us the quality of life that we've come to enjoy in America is all determined by the census count. Whatever legislation the Congress and everyone that make the decision about our lives is determined by that census count. So we cannot take it for granted. So I'm going to bring Liz back again so that we can continue this conversation. But I want you to please speak on the issue of when we talk about census, why I matter, why I need to be counted. Even the power to say that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm challenging the next generation. my baby just turned 18 this in January, and I told her, I said, one of the biggest power you have as an adult in America is the power to vote. I said, this November or whatever vote, local, it doesn't matter. You need to vote, because voting, just like this count, if you're not voting, if you're not getting counted in thing that you should, because you don't understand. Sometimes you don't need to understand. Follow leaders that you believe that they're going in the right position, and they will guide you. So you are a trusted leader in the District of Columbia who has gotten so many talk about that from your own perspective, and speak to some of us who may say there's nothing there for me, and yet Black Lives Matter, yet my life matter. And again, it goes back to census and also the things that I be a part of. Speak to that.
Yeah, I'll speak to that, but I'll take some of the things that I've been through myself,
Sure.
and some
Yeah, that'll be
sample
great.
things that I've been seeing in the city. So I will just go ahead and talk about, because I work with a lot of French speaking, and what I realized in DC is that when you go to the social service, you will have the translation in Amharic, in Spanish, but you will not have French. But recently we start talking about it. How many people speak French in the district or in DMV? It's a lot
Right.
compared to Amharic, because we are not counted. That's why nobody went down there to complain about, okay, we have a lot of
Exactly.
French speaking here, and we need also a translation in French. But something that I did last year, I think it's end of last year, it was very powerful. I work with a breeder association in DC, and most of the breeder are from West Africa. Most of them speak French. And to get the breeder license, you need to take the board. The board is not only in English, it's in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, and Japanese. Can you imagine? There is
I can only
no
imagine.
board in French. So what I did, I decided to go to board of cosmetology meetings with some of the breeders. I went there in October just to introduce myself. I just explained to them I work with the Breeder Association. We just started the association, but we would like to have the board in French. They say, how many French speaking you have here? I explained to them, 90% of the breeder are French speaking. So they said, okay, come with the sign in, bring something to show us. They even know that the next day, the next meeting, it was November. I went there and I explained to them, do you imagine that more than 90% of breeders are French speaking? And I don't understand why you don't have a translation board in French. You have in Japanese and Vietnamese. So what they did, December, I went there, they said, oh yeah, you're right. We didn't think about that. Can you imagine? Because that day I went with like 4 brothers and all of them speak. I was like, this is gonna work. The following week, I went there again and I talked about that. I said, I just wanted to follow up with you. How far are you with our project? We need the board to be in French. It's the number. So if you are not together, nothing will happen. So they decided
That's an
right away. They
excellent.
said,
That's an
okay,
excellent example.
yeah, they said right
That's an
away,
excellent
we're gonna
example.
change it
Yes,
in French. So they
that's
decided, they
the
said,
power of
okay, that's
number.
it.
That's it.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And we were just 4
Yeah.
of us. So it wasn't like 1,000 people. So just be
Yeah.
together, try to, it's not that number is you we can advocate. 2, 3, 4 people
Yeah.
can advocate for the nation.
Yeah.
So just come together
Exactly.
and bring other people people on
Exactly.
board. So
Exactly.
that's
Yes.
just just tell you the
You
power
just
of
made a
number.
great point. You unpacked a lot. I think when you're saying braid, a lot of them need to understand you're talking about braiding hair so they can understand, right? But you
Exactly.
just said a lot of powerful, that was an excellent example because it's the power of numbers. Is the same exactly the reason why you need to participate in the census. You can people
Mhm.
have lost election because of 5 people. So if you're saying, "Oh, I want this person to win," and you didn't vote, how are they going to win? If you're saying you want the schools in your neighborhood to be a certain way, but you never got counted, maybe your number one count that you didn't show up could be the reason why you didn't get your neighborhood was supposed to get for park and planning maybe 5 million or 10 million because one number now they only got 2 million. That's how powerful being counted is. There's another thing you said that touched the core of my being, the power of showing up. Most Africans don't show up. We stay with what is familiar, and I very much appreciate you for that. And you are a trend setter, and I appreciate you for that because it's not easy to generate and exude power as a sojourner in a foreign land. Now, America is our place. So it is important to always show up, even if nobody knows your name. Even if nobody knows how to pronounce your last name, get up and show up.
Exactly.
Have a conversation. Tell people that you count. Tell people that you matter. Tell people you have a community that is also adding value to this great America we've all come to love, and they're not
Exactly.
just takers. And we are the only people who don't show up in the right places. We can come up and dance and drink and all of that, and I love dancing and drinking, but we need to change. So I'm hoping that you will be the one to change that trajectory. And I'm so glad that we both sisters are supporting each other. I want you to talk a little bit more and why should they care now that they hear our perspective on it?
I think they should care. They should care to shape their future, the community future, and to have better life. Not being selfish. Like sometimes
Yes.
we
Mhm.
we just very nice and good in our comfort zone that we like. I have
Mhm.
my nice car, my job, my house. So I
Yeah.
don't need anybody.
Mhm. And
So
it's not about
sometimes
none
we
of
think
those.
about it.
Yeah.
No, it's not. But we have to stop being selfish. We have your neighbor can benefit from something. Think about your neighbor.
That's
If you
right.
can, if you
Yes.
have enough for yourself, think about
Yes.
your friend. Your friend is somewhere
Mhm.
dying about
Yeah.
something. Just go ahead and find
Yeah.
just to help that friend.
Yeah.
Don't sometimes we
Yeah.
like, I'm good.
Exactly.
I'm good where I am. We have to stop being selfish.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Right.
So
Just like,
sometimes like
again, I keep drawing analogy from what you're saying because what is the issue right now? Why other countries where America used to be the one to dictate the tone of who comes and goes, but because people are not listening to science, America is going in the direction it shouldn't be going with this COVID-19. So you talk about being selfish. That's what they keep telling people, put on your mask because the mask, even though it's not for you, but think about it, selfishness is really what is killing the world. If we all can become each other's keeper, it wouldn't be that difficult. So the example you gave, I'm drawing it again back into the concept of what's going on right now. The reason why part of the reason why the coronavirus is still escalating in America, part of it is selfishness. People don't want to put on masks. And they say, well, I don't care. But what about all the
not only being care, but sometimes also wicked because if somebody realize, just pick it back to what you said, if somebody realize that he's asymptomatic, so he got all those, he got the virus, but he can't develop the disease, so he doesn't care. So I can go to the store, I can touch anything, I don't care. So we have to also stop that. It's very important. Even you are not sick or you sick, you have to protect other person. Don't even
exactly?
think that, oh, I'm not feeling well, my neighbor too need to catch that. We have to make sure that we have to
Yeah,
just
girl.
reduce.
I talk about wickedness of the world, but guess what? We serve a living God. With people like you and I, we're not angels, we're nothing, but we believe in positivity. We believe that we can help each other. I'm gonna have you talk about how can people learn more, because after the conversation is call to action. Right now, how can people learn how to participate in this very important census? Because in our lifetime, for me particularly, as an elder citizen, excuse me, how long, I don't know how long God is going to have me here for another 3,000 years. But I believe in my lifetime, this is going to be one of the most important census to be counted that we must participate in. Can you give them some information how to participate in it? Free and
Um, the good thing is that this year it was very, very great to have three different ways to apply for census, to complete the census form. So you can do it online, and online you can go to uscensus.gov and complete your application. You can also
yeah.
do it by phone, because there's phone number on the census form. But somebody want the phone number, we can communicate that to later on. So you can do it by phone, and
Sure.
you can request also the form to fill out and mail it. So there's three ways to fill out
Mm.
census. With this COVID, everybody was in the house, so it was very easy for all of us to go online and fill out census, very easy online.
Right. The last question I'm going to ask you is that a lot of people will say, oh, before we go, it's almost over, a couple more minutes, a couple more seconds actually, and they're concerned about their safety. Is this going to be used against them? Is, you know how people are paranoid, and rightfully so, because when you are a surgeon in a foreign land, things are not as easy for you as those who were born here, and that perhaps some may take for granted. So you're always skeptical. But I understand that it's not one of those things you have to be worried about. What kind of confidence do you want to give people to let them know that they are safe and they need to participate in it and they don't have to worry about anything? And then close it up for us, and so we can keep it moving.
Actually, it's confidential, very confidential. Nobody will take your information against you. You can't go to your landlord, because maybe you have many people in the house. Everybody in the house needs to be counted, even children, even a friend that's living with you. So even you are undocumented, you have to be counted. So make sure that there's a law. If somebody use it against you, the person gonna be in charge for that.
I guess that we have very much come out. We just got started and it's over already. But I took a lot from you and I got inspired and empowered just listening to you. And in terms of the fact that we must find a way to continue to charge forward for such as this, with Black Lives Matter, for the good that is coming out of the death of a brother, George Floyd. I know that he didn't know how he was going to go down, but to me, he's a hero. Because of him, a lot of positive changes are happening in the lives of Black people, and that's just the beginning. But I know that if we do not participate in a way that we are taking first steps, taking action, and waiting for people to do it for it, is not going to happen. When you take charge of your life, the tendency is that life will give you pretty much what you ask for, and be willing to sacrifice. Because I know for a fact there'll be no change without change. There'll be no